our outstanding tasks for the 1.13 Kubernetes release. So we have docs on the main Kubernetes site that is currently assigned to me. I will be working on that today. Next, Luis, you have the task to split up the driver registrar. Luis is not here. We'll have to sync up with him. We need to sync up the sidecar and the driver YAMLs with the YAMLs that we updated in the E2E tests. Does someone have cycles to sign up for this?
What's the task here?
This is to keep the E2E YAMLs in sync with the examples that we have in the sidecar repos.
So the sidecar ones are out of date?
Yeah,
okay.
Because we updated the E2E ones to point to 1.0 on everything, but we didn't update the sidecar stuff.
Okay, so this should be fairly easy. Anybody on the call want it?
Is this to update the to point to 1.0, or is this the change that we made to the location of the register, the socket file location?
Both.
Both.
Basically,
Okay,
just take the YAML files from the end-to-end tests and copy them over to the examples in the sidecar container.
The original idea was that the sidecar containers are responsible for defining these YAML files, but this time in this release it was done the other way around.
Right.
Long term, Michelle wanted this to have it so that the Kubernetes testing doesn't even have a copy of a file. In that case, you wouldn't have been able to modify locally. It would just have to be a URL. But right now we do have copies of those files.
That's correct. I think that will be a longer term item that we can consider for the next release. For now, we just need to make sure the two are in sync.
Sorry, I just stepped in.
Okay, I can take this if nobody else wants it.
I was going to say you could put me down. I'll work on that today.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Vlad.
Sure.
All right. Luis, now that you're here, the previous item splitting up the driver registrar into two programs.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll probably need to rebase your PR.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then once you're done, you can go ahead and ping me, and I can review that.
Oh sure, no problem. Do that.
Awesome. Let's see. The next item here is to use the Quay 1.0 images of the sidecars instead of the GKE ones.
Yeah, I added that when I looked at the recent changes in Kubernetes end-to-end testing, and I noticed that it wasn't pulling what we consider the official images. Was that a short-term workaround, or is that actually going to be a change in how the sidecar containers are getting released?
Sorry, it was
is there a reason why we use the GKE images for the sidecars instead of the Quay ones?
We couldn't get the Quay ones working in time, so the GKE ones were working, and we just used those to unblock ourselves.
Yeah, but I guess so. So maybe an item here is we need to fix the Quay images.
No, they're fine. It was just a small issue during the small time pressure we had before, but everything's working.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess it's just a matter of reverting back to the original ones.
Okay.
But that's just something that someone needs to do and test.
All right. Does anyone want to take this on?
It's just changing the values, right? It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and just running the tests again and make sure they pass.
Okay, I have to remember if I don't have any more points anymore for GC.
Oh no, you can just change the host path ones and test that one.
Yeah, you can leave the
leave the GCE driver using the GKE images.
No, I meant like I can't even deploy it on on Google Compute. I don't have any more points.
The host path ones can be run locally.
Okay, so I can run local.
Yeah.
Local. I never run it that way.
Or the host path can be run on any cluster. So if you have access to any cluster, you can run the host
Yeah,
path.
it sounds like it will be easier if I take that one.
Okay.
Yes.
I know how to run the tests.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. All right. Next up is updating the Kubernetes CSI documentation.
So this is going to be a lot of work. I think we need multiple people working on it.
Definitely. Yeah.
We need to like have this be like a significant effort to try and rework this to, one, capture all the different versions that we have for Kubernetes and what version of the sidecars you use. Two, make it very simple when a developer comes in about where to get started and understand what the different components are and how they can start with just a minimal driver and add functionality to it, like snapshots and provisioning and all these things. I can help work on this, but I need help from other people as well who are good at documentation.
This is
Help, let me know.
This is my suggestion. We need a kind of like a brute force going through it first, and then we can adjust it. It's been kind of stale for many releases now, and we need to go back to like every page. My suggestion is that we spend an hour, maybe just you and me, Saad, just going through it, just kind of reorganizing everything, and then saying this is the way we want it to look.
High level outline.
Yeah. When you do that, remember, for example, also the question that came up, if there's an open issue, the question came up, where do we document, for example, the different URLs that you need for different Kubernetes versions? The example MD file is now up to date for Kubernetes 1.12 and the 0.4 sidecar containers. And given that people are continuing to use Kubernetes 1.12, we might want to keep that document, that example with those URLs for people on Kubernetes 1.12 and set up a corresponding page perhaps for 1.13. And the setup page also has URLs which are currently broken. That's the open issue that it has been filed against the docs. That's partly because there's just so much duplication that the example was updated and the setup page wasn't. So it's really a question, where do we want to put which kind of information so that we don't have overlaps and duplication and things that we might miss if we
Ideally, I want every old thing on a release branch. So for example, the old YAML files for a sidecar container should live in the appropriate release branch for that YAML file and be updated on that release branch as needed.
That's not currently the case, but the example.md file pulls a specific revision. So we're no longer breaking the example when making changes to the master branch.
I see.
It's not ideal, but
we should make release branches for every version.
I'm just pointing out that it's not absolutely necessary anymore. We used to pull from the master branch, and that clearly broke at some point, but it's not bad anymore. But yeah, I agree. It still makes sense to have release branches and to have the different examples pull from the branches.
Yeah. So the documents themselves cannot be on release branches because the documents when they get generated, the website is only one. Like the website itself needs to have good control of versions. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on it here, but I completely agree with what you're saying, and we'll take care of it.
Okay. So I'll put down Luis and Saad for this for now. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay.
That's fine with me. I actually wanted to clarify one thing about compatibility. Because in the release notes for 1.13 and also what Saad said on Slack is that CSI drivers absolutely have to be updated to work with 1.13. But today someone pointed out that they have an older setup with a driver based on, I guess, CSI 1.03, and it works with 1.13. So I'm a bit confused about whether that's just...
That's very surprising to me because we actually have upgrade tests that are failing.
My guess is that they might have upgraded only the master and not the nodes. So if you upgrade only the master to 113, things will continue to work. As soon as you upgrade the nodes as well, things will stop because the master never speaks directly to a CSI driver, but the nodes actually do. So kubelet actually speaks directly with the CSI drivers, and it uses an older package.
I agree that this would explain that, but yeah, it is a bit confusing to see people now on Slack experimenting with that, and at least the discussion today might have given the wrong impression. So it might be worth going back to Fatih, because he was asking about that, because he now has a production driver that he's probably trying to port to 112, I think is his current goal, but he's also experimenting with CSI 1.0. So the sooner we send out a clear message, the better.
Okay, I'll reply on that Slack thread right now.
All right. Yeah, and moving on to the failing upgrade test.
Before we move on, can we just get someone, or can we agree whether we move forward with generating the HTML page via Travis, or when we want to do that? That's this one open issue that I tagged on to the end.
So yeah, I really like that idea. Right now, every time we merge anything into docs, it causes every other PR to force it to be rebased. And that's really bad. So I like your idea of just removing the auto generation from the hands of developers and doing it automatically as part of the merge process. So let me know what you need and when you need it, and I can help.
It's all ready. That's why I'm bringing it up. We can basically merge this PR now and see if it works. I'm still available this evening, so if it breaks, I can help.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and merge that.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, thanks, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Patrick, on that.
All right. So next is the failing upgrade test. This is expected, so we need to figure out if we can update this test to detect the SKUs and potentially launch, run different versions of the manifest depending on the version. So let me write down all this. Let me write down all the possible SKUs. Is that all? Are those the only SKUs? I think these are the only SKUs tested. Oh, and then there's just the okay. So I think we need to go back into 112 branch and look at those CSI tests, and if we can detect these SKUs, then we can modify the test to launch the correct manifests. I think the challenge we might have here is that the all the work we did to like load the driver from manifests and stuff is only in the 113 branch, and it's not in 112. So this might be this might be a little more complicated to implement.
Backporting that is not an option.
We can consider it. it's a pretty big change, so I don't know if
Yeah.
the release team will really like that.
But it's completely new code, so it just adds a new package basically, or new API. If nothing else uses it, it can't break anything.
Yeah, so I guess maybe the first step would be to investigate the 1.12 version of the test and see how difficult it would be to make it work with a 1.0 spec. If it's going to be too complicated, then we can consider backporting that change. Let's see. Maybe, is this something, Saad, you might be able to take a look at?
This is the upgrade downgrade
Yeah.
test. I can possibly help with that, or I'll find someone else to help with it. Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right. Next is we have an item in the external attacher to check for the publish read only capability. This was a new capability that was added to 1.0, and when we upgraded the specs to 1.0, we did not add logic to check for this capability. Can someone work on this?
I can look at it.
Is that Jan?
Yeah, it's me.
I can't hear. I hope it was Jan.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Jan, you can send a chat if your audio isn't working.
All right. Next is fix the external snapshotter. Looks like Xing has a PR out for that. So I guess me and Jing can help take a look at this today. Awesome. Next is fixing the topology feature in the external provisioner.
Yep, I'm doing that today.
All right, awesome. Next is adding the block support to external provisioner.
I thought block didn't go in this quarter.
So block, there were changes in Kubernetes to make block work for CSI, and there's also corresponding changes that need to happen in the external provisioner.
Okay.
This is just to make block work for
Got it.
CSI.
Okay.
I think we did not focus on reviewing this for the Kubernetes code freeze, but now we're past code freeze. This can be reviewed again.
Okay.
So did that PR go in, the Masaki PR?
The one in Kubernetes, I believe went in. Yeah. So I think this is like the external provisioner part of it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, if the KK one went in, then yeah, we need that one.
Okay. Vlad, will you be able to help review this?
Yeah.
Awesome. I forget if Ben might be reviewing this too.
Yeah, he was one of the proponents to get that in, so he probably will be a good reviewer as well.
All right. Awesome. Thanks. Next up, we need to update the liveness probe to the CSI 1.0 spec.
So it looks like Sergey already did this.
Oh, okay. Has it been checked in?
Yes. Jan reviewed it.
Okay, awesome. Is it done?
So now it needs to be released.
Yeah, I cut a release. I tagged a release. I'm not sure if there's any containers that need to be tagged. But I cut a release 1.0 branch. I didn't actually cut actually I did. I cut a tag and cut a branch. Did not cut any containers. If there's any containers that need to be cut, then
this is exactly what I'll talk about in the next bullet. When we cut a branch, the way it works is that the make file in that branch, we change the images value, and then Travis automatically uses the images value and creates a container with that tag and pushes it. So everything works really nice, right? I see an issue with that model where if I take any of the release branches right now and I merge something, it'll change the immutable object, which is supposed to be our container that was released. It will go back to the old tag. You see what I mean? So what I would like to do is in each one of our release branches for every one of our sidecar containers, change the value of the images to the next version. Does that make sense?
In the basically on the master branch increment.
No, not the master branch. Like the release 1.0 branch. If another PR goes in, that PR will automatically go into the 1.0 container, and I don't want that to happen because I want that container to be frozen. So what I would like to do is it's really simple. All I have to do is change the images value to the next version. I just want to let everybody know that that's what would happen.
But we don't want. Like the official build should not be cut until a tag is cut, right? It should not be based on the branches.
But my current thinking is something else. As Louis said, there is a problem if we ever update something on these release branches that currently the supposedly immutable images get modified, right, Louis? Because
yes,
we
exactly
have
what I'm saying.
That should not happen. Completely agree.
Yeah.
That's broken.
And what also is missing is this one issue that we have where even if we assign a new number, a version number, before merging some other change, we end up pushing something outside as a supposedly stable release that never has gone through any end-to-end testing. My current thinking is that we should have a separate repo with end-to-end tests that we run for the stable versions of these sidecar containers, and if individual sidecar containers push a new update, they push to the Docker registry, but they do that on a staging branch, basically, or with a staging name, and only after a successful end-to-end run, we somehow promote that staged image to a real release.
Maybe
something like that.
That's exactly what we're doing for Google, the Google PD driver. We build everything into a staging and push to a staging repo, and then we test against the staging images, and then only when the tests pass, we promote them to the official releases. The other thing that we do when we build is that we only we either tag things with latest, or we only build like release images if there's a tag for it.
So do not cut a official image or even a staging image off of a release branch. You always cut those off of a tag. So even if there's a release-10 branch, it doesn't matter what's going inside that branch. You're not going to be cutting any official 1.0 or even 1.0 RC or staging or canary or staging, off of that branch. Only when there is an official tag cut does an associated container get created. So if I want an RC version of 1.0, I would create a tag off the release 1.0 branch. That is 1.0.0-RC1 or RC2, and that should trigger the creation of the appropriately tagged container.
I understand what you mean by that. It's not trivial to do that. I would suggest that we change the value of the images right now to something else other than the release value, something like maybe 1.00 canary. I don't care what it is, as long as it's not messes with the release one. And maybe by hand we release it. When we have to do the releases by hand anyway.
Yeah, I agree there. We need to do something short term to prevent the squashing. So
I think
go for
short term I just put -canary at the end.
Okay. Michelle, for the GKE containers that are currently cut, they're all cut off of tag, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we should hold off on updating everything to point to the Quay ones, because the Quay ones potentially can get squashed.
Okay.
So can we tag that
Yeah.
one?
Let me update that item. Where was this one? Okay.
So let's
Let's
not do
not
that.
do this until we fix the
Travis CI setup or whatever we call it. Yeah.
In the meantime, I think the GKE containers are doing the right thing, so you should be able to use those.
Okay, that should I should be able to work on that today, and definitely. So it's
I
pretty
think higher
simple.
priority than that. Like, actually, yeah, go ahead and do the temporary fix if you want. But I think higher priority than that is the splitting up the driver registrar. I want that to be finished before 1.13 goes out, which
Oh,
is
okay.
pretty short deadline. And I think there's going to be a lot of issues with that, and we're going to have to update documentation. So
I thought you okay okay. So that means that you would need 2 containers for that, right?
yes,
Okay. Yeah.
we
Okay.
want 2 containers, 2 repos,
Yeah.
2 separate
And two
binaries.
Yeah. I
two
think
set
actually I'm
of
doing that right now.
two set of YAML files, right?
2 set of
It's
YAML files, correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the way I'm doing it right now, if I remember.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Ideally, I want this to be done before 1.13 so that as part of the 1.13 documentation and blogs and everything, we say these are 2 separate containers with their official final name.
We'll
Right
do
now,
that.
it's confusing, so I just want to deprecate that before we go forward.
Yeah, I should be able to do both today. There's no
Okay,
issues.
awesome. Thank you, Luis.
awesome. Thanks. Let's see. Next is CSI test CSI sanity versioning.
Yeah.
I believe this was the issue where the 0.3 version was pointing to head.
Yeah. So this is what I like to do. I would like to destroy the ones that don't work, and so there's a 0.3 release of CSI and CSI scenario to keep the first one that came out, which works with 0.3. It was the right one. Destroy the ones that don't work, which are confusing, and then release 1.0, and that's it.
I think release 1.0 already exists. So
It's not like actually released on the release page. And also, we don't have any.
Can we actually like delete a release, or do we need to just like revert it and then cut a new release?
You can delete releases. It's pretty simple.
Is that gonna break people?
No.
yeah, I would avoid at least removing the RC2 one. We could just cut another.
No, I mean, so there was an issue where the 0.3 version of this test was actually pointing to like the head of the CSI spec.
So it's exactly right.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if instead of deleting that release, we need to roll back and cut a new 0.3.
Yes, I like that.
What I'm trying to say is that we already have, if you see the CSI test release cycle is 0.3-1-2-3, like that. So what I'm trying to do is kill -2 and -3. There's already -1.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we cut a -4.
Well, we can't. That's the problem.
Why not?
Because there are a release -4 would mean that it would have the same problem as -3, which is it points to the head of the CSI spec.
Yeah, but can we like roll it back and then on the 0.3 branch and then cut a new -4? That's correct.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You pretty much are trying to recreate -1, but on the branch.
Correct.
Okay, that can be done. That's easy. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I think if people have already like set up their vendor and stuff to pull from these releases and then we delete them, that will probably break their repos.
Yeah, it's fine. I can do that. That's easy.
Okay.
But at the same time, we need release notes for and a release for 1.0, which is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe this could be lower priority than the other 1.0 work.
Yeah, definitely. What I was trying to say is like almost nobody's gonna start. Well, I guess 0.3 still matters. I don't know if it does anymore.
I mean, people won't be running 113 for a while.
But they even I don't know if anybody runs. Well, I guess that's not true. I'll do 1.03 and I'll do 1.0. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking out loud.
Awesome. Next is release notes.
I haven't done those yet. I didn't have time last Friday, but I should be able to do that today and tomorrow
Awesome.
for
So I
the
can
SIG
do,
containers.
Kubernetes IO ones.
Okay. For the driver, we should split that up first before releasing a driver registrar.
Yeah.
So would that mean that driver registrar change once it goes in, I would have to backport it, right? And then re-release it. So that would be a dash. That would be on like 101.
So as far as I'm concerned, the existing driver registrar basically gets frozen as it is and marked as deprecated. The existing containers continue to exist as they are. And then moving forward, we cut new containers off the new repos, which are cluster driver registrar and node driver registrar. And everything comes off of those new ones, and those new ones have everything. And people can, if they're using the old driver registrar, they'll be able to continue to use it. But if they go look in that old repo, they'll see that that repo is deprecated, and it'll point them to the new ones. And if they want to pick up new changes, they go to the new repos.
Wait, you're saying repos. What do you mean by that?
So there's the existing driver registrar repo.
Yes.
It has everything combined into one.
Yes.
We leave that as is, and we leave its latest release as is. And we create two new repos, which we've already done. Or I don't know if we've done it or not, but we need to. We need to create a node driver registrar and a cluster driver registrar. Those are going to be where we do our work going forward. So the new programs that have been split up live in those two repos, and we have release branches off those repos, and we have a new set of containers that get created off of those release branches.
Okay.
And moving forward, everybody who wants to use CSI uses those separate new containers, cluster driver registrar, node driver registrar. The existing old branch and the existing old repo and the containers and branches and everything else live as they are, but frozen and marked deprecated. So we put a big sign on there on the README that says this has been deprecated. If you're looking for the node driver registrar, go here. If you're looking for the cluster driver registrar, go here. These are the supported versions. This old version is no longer supported, but we're going to leave it as is for basically backwards compatibility, make sure we don't break people.
So the PR I have, we will go into master of driver registrar.
The PR that you have splitting up the driver registrar, I would just, I wouldn't merge that.
Okay, see, this is a confusion I have. So
don't merge that and just create two new PRs for the new repos. And basically you're starting it's like we're starting two new sets of programs, right?
Let me see if I can create.
But actually, I would keep the old history. I would just remove the basically copy the code into both repositories and then clean up each one such that it only builds the right command.
Got it.
That seems like a good idea to me too.
Yeah, I could definitely do
that. I hate losing history in Git. It doesn't always tell me much, but I like to keep it as much as possible.
If you can do that, if you can maintain the history and transfer it over into the two repos and then whittle them down to
that's easy.
That seems fine to me as well.
Can you actually transfer history between two different repos?
You just push. That's all. You just push the master branch.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Just don't modify the original driver registrar repo.
I do not have the access anymore, sad face, to create repos. So to create repos.
Yeah, nobody does. We have to all go to that org, Kubernetes /org and create an issue. So go ahead and create an issue for that. And then CC me and ping me, and I'll +1 it, and we'll get that
Okay.
created.
Do you mind putting the link to the location of that on that
Sure.
document?
Yeah, I'll put it underneath that bullet point with split up driver registrar.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't have time for it, I guess, today, but I added some general items at the top of a document about things that I wanted to talk about. And one of them is about recreating some kind of component, some repo where we share code between the different sidecar containers. And the straw that breaks the camel's back is actually this next topic here, take advantage of CSI secret. That's a bug, or basically a feature, or whatever you want to call it, whether it's a bug or a feature. That's the same kind of change that we need in, I don't know how many different drivers now. I think there's an opportunity to have some common code that all of these sidecar containers pull from to do things like connecting to the CSI driver and handling logging of outgoing and incoming requests.
Yeah, great. That sounds really good.
Yeah. And I don't know whether we want to do it before fixing this or
I think we
after.
can do it after. It's an internal dependency, so it's basically like a refactor of our existing code. Considering the rest of these things are much more critical for the release, I say we can do it afterwards, but I think it's a good idea and we definitely should do it.
So this take advantage is also something that we can do post Kubernetes 1.13, or do you want to do that? Do we want to see that fixed now?
I'd like somebody to go in and review this stuff just to make sure that we're not doing something stupid before 1.0. It doesn't have to take advantage of this, but I just want to make sure that we're not logging out any sensitive.
Well, currently we do, and there's a long-standing bug about that.
Okay, so we should definitely fix that before 1.0. So that should be like a P0. We have to fix it before we go to 1.0.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a link to the bug at the top of the document. It was filed against CSI provisioner, every external provisioner, quite a while back. Well, time flies, but it certainly was a few months or more. And we never got around to do anything about it because we weren't quite sure what to do. The CSI secret field, that or annotation or whatever it is, that sounds like a proper solution. Now just someone needs to figure out how to use it in the logging code that we use, which is, as far as I know, it's just format fprintf or sprintf something.
Yeah. So we're going to have to like scrub all of it. Does anybody want to work on this?
I can. Well, okay. Now you put me into critical path for release again. I'm interested, but I also have other things to do. So unless someone else steps up, I can take that.
Okay, how about you can take it and then let us know by Wednesday if you are making any progress on it or not, and if not, we can reassign it to someone else.
Okay. But I'm not. The problem is that we'll now have to do this change in I don't know how many different repos. But yeah, I'll figure out what needs to be done in one of them, and then we'll perhaps individual maintainers can take that this pull request and apply the same change elsewhere.
That seems reasonable. The most important one, I think, first is Kubernetes, because we have a approaching deadline for that. The release has to go out by the end of the month. So let's get that fixed, and then everything else we have more or less under our control, and we can fix those at a slower pace. But definitely this should be a P0 for us.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Patrick. We also have a blog post for CSIGA.
Yeah, I can help with this. There's apparently Jorge wants to help write it.
Okay.
And
sure. Sounds good. All right. So that's everything that we have remaining for 113. I know we're already over time, but I just wanted to quickly just go down like everything that we did and already accomplished for GA. We did a lot of stuff and we got a lot in. There's just like pages of stuff, and so this is This is really awesome. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, good job. This is huge. I'm still surprised we got it done. So thank you all. There's still a lot of work left to be done. But be proud of yourselves. This is pretty big.
All right.
I want to ask quickly. How soon do we need to cut the external snapshotter? Do we still have time to merge other things, or we just have to cut as soon as we get that critical bug fixed?
I think as far as I understand, external snapshotter is currently broken with the 1.0 release.
Yeah, that we have a fix. We have a fix for that. And
so what you could do is cut an RC1, 1.0.0 RC1. So what I want is, I think we already created a release 1.0 branch for external snapshotter, right?
But I think
No,
Michelle
I
says do
haven't.
not use it because it's broken. It cannot be used.
I did
So
not
that was the
touch
tag.
snapshotter.
It is not.
Okay. So what we need to do is let's get your change merged and create a release 1.0 branch, and then create an RC2 release tag off of that, and then have a container for RC2. Then we can start using that as like, okay, this is the one that we think works, and we can put Michelle, I think Michelle's tag RC1 already says do not use, or there's RC2, sorry. So we're going to create an RC3, and we're going to say that's the one that should be working. It has your change in it. Then you can continue to make any additional changes, and maybe in 1 week or something, we can cut an official 1.0.0 that you're happy with.
Okay.
I guess Xing's question was like, do we have more time to add more changes to CSI Snapshot besides just making it work with 1.0?
For the RC, no. We want to get the RC out as soon as possible. For the official 1.0.0 release, we can probably do it at some point next week because the release goes out on December 3, Monday.
Okay.
So potentially you have more time.
Okay.
Ideally by Monday next week, I think we should have our official sidecar containers all cut and tested and validated and in the documentation as well.
Okay.
Because if this is in flux, then documentation and it slows down everything.
Okay. But if there's any changes needed in the API, then we should not be making it, right? Because the provisioner also depends on it. Well, the reason I'm asking is there's one thing. Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, I mean, do you need a change in the API?
Oh, basically there's one the retention policy thing has been there for a while. That actually has an API change. So I don't know if there's still time to do that. But then if we get that one merged, then we need to update the external provisioner as well because that's the API change.
Got it. I think that's fine. You can go ahead and do that for the official 1.0.0 release. Do you think you can get it done by Monday?
I think that is possible. I will talk to Jing about that because we have a couple of those things that are almost ready. Yeah, so.
Then we can cut a new release for the external provisioner as well when you're ready.
Okay.
And then the release documentation just needs to capture, here's what went in and why we cut another external provisioner kind of thing.
Okay.
So basically going forward, we just need to be very, very careful about the cutting of branches, the cutting of tags, the cutting of containers, having release notes. We can't just, have containers that have their content change over time. Things need to be predictable for our users now. We need to hold ourselves to the same bar that Kubernetes holds itself to in terms of backwards compatibility. So let's all try to make sure we don't break things as we move forward. Every change that you make, think about what's going to happen to existing users. Am I going to break existing users? Because if that happens, we are literally breaking production clusters. We cannot afford that. So
Great. I think that maybe something that we can do also is I understand that in a PR in Kubernetes you can add release notes to the PR section, but that would be too tedious for us. maybe can we have a like a markdown document called changelog or something that we can add to it, so I can just grab that and put it in the release from the previous one, and then that.
I think that becomes unmaintainable, and what the Kubernetes release does instead is each PR has a release notes section.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And so-
That would be crazy for me to do. Like I would have to go through each one, and I don't have.
No, I think there should be tools that automate it.
If there,
Yeah, automatic.
how about this? I don't know who does releases in Kubernetes and does that. I probably could learn from that.
Yeah. That would be good. We
Yeah.
we can sync up with the Kubernetes release team to see how they do release notes. I'm pretty sure it's all automated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely for sure. Yeah.
And
Look
then
at
we
the
have the
street.
same tools and mechanisms available to us in that repo, so it's probably a matter of just turning on the right tooling.
Okay.
Quick question, Michelle, for the task that I signed up for the sync sidecar YAMLs, can we enumerate which driver? It's basically it's just the you just had it, like the third item from the top there. It's a host path, right?
Yeah. Just the host path ones.
Okay.
So this should be, I guess, what is this? Host path is currently under CSI drivers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have
External provider, okay. Provisioner, okay.
Well, actually,
Because I thought some of the stuff was
the
already done.
sidecar repos don't need to be updated, right? It's only the driver one that needs to be updated.
For the YAMLs, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a driver.
So just the host path driver, sorry.
Okay, that works.
Yeah. Oops.
Because the other stuff, they were already pointing to 1.0 like last week, I believe. Like
Yeah.
the provisioner and stuff like that. Okay.
Oh, another announcement. I don't know if everybody saw the kubelet device plugin registration mechanism went in on Friday, but it ended up making a change to the directory that the CSI driver is installed in, or the socket for the registration is installed in.
Right.
Previously, it was varlib kubelet/plugins, and now it is varlib kubelet/plugins_registry.
So you can add that to like one more bullet under my name, so I can make sure I make sure that's done.
Okay. And also I added a bullet in the Kubernetes CSI docs
Yep.
so that we document that.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just an FYI for anybody who has any driver that they want to work with CSI 1.0 and Kubernetes 1.13. I'm going to be capturing this in the release notes, but in order to make your driver work, you now need to change that socket that it's, instead of dropping it in that old location, it needs to be dropped in the new location.
Okay.
Any reason?
The reason was because the old directory had a bunch of other stuff in it, including
All the mount points.
all the mount point, the global
Mount points, everything.
volumes. So they were recursively traversing that directory, and they were finding all sorts of user garbage in there, and it was causing the code to throw up.
Okay.
So what we wanted to do was set aside a directory just for us to say, hey, this is where the sockets are going to be, and there should be nothing else in there.
Okay.
If you use the new sidecar, it takes care of this for you, right? You don't have to change anything.
No, you have to actually update the directory that you create the socket in.
The
In the
parameters
YAML?
that pass to the driver registrar need to be updated.
Right. Just the parameter.
Yeah, and you can look at the GCE PD end-to-end test or the
Host path.
host path test. Both of them were modified for this update. It was literally I think it was a 2-line change or a 1-line change where you change the directory for the registration socket, not for the driver socket. The driver socket can continue to live where it is. And this is the weird thing with our driver registrar, which I really don't like, but it's, that's the way it is. We have 2 sockets. One is the socket for the driver, which serves the CSI endpoint. And then there's a second socket for the kubelet plugin registration. It's the directory for the kubelet plugin registration that's being moved.
Is this
Oh,
documented?
Probably.
Yes.
Okay. I know.
It's documented, but not well documented.
Okay.
So
I
I'm gonna-
spent
I'm
so
gonna try
long
to-
trying to understand this, and
Yeah.
I still don't completely
I
understand.
think part of my goal is going to be try to improve that understanding in the documentation.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up? All right,
No.
great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys.
We're in the home stretch. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Take care.